Member for... Sorry, Katherine.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I rise to speak on the MPI this evening, recognising the 17th anniversary of the National Apology to Australia's Indigenous peoples and the ongoing impacts caused by the past mistreatment of members of the stolen generation in the NT. But Mr Deputy Speaker, as I rise to speak on this MPI, I just want to let the House know that our government is committed to improving, and I'm just going to speak about it on a little bit from an education perspective. We are committed to improving education outcomes for Indigenous children, in fact all children, Mr Deputy Speaker. We were elected with a clear mandate to get kids back to school and set them on a better, brighter path. Education is the key to a successful future. It opens doors to better employment opportunities, better health and overall well-being. Let me be clear, Mr Deputy Speaker, under Labor, the Northern Territory's education system was nothing short of a national embarrassment. The statistics speak for themselves. And when it comes to school attendance, academic achievement and the safety of teachers and students, Labor, over the last term, deserved nothing less than an F. We just heard earlier on today about the member for Arafura was asking about swimming and talking about swimming in his electorate. And what I want those on the opposite side to know, Mr Deputy Speaker, is that we went to the election with a $3 million commitment to teach all children how to swim. So this is actually...
Sorry, Leader of the Opposition, point of order.
110 relevance. I understand there's often latitude in debate, but this is a matter of public importance about the 17th anniversary of the national apology to the stolen generation, just to remind the member through you,
Thank
Mr
you.
Chair.
Look, I understand, but I've seen other members have good latitude and we're only very early into the speech, so I'll continue on.
So, as I was saying, Mr Deputy Speaker, all children will be learning to swim in years 1 to 6 right across the Territory. And as we have a national drowning rate that is extremely low, it is very important that all children learn to swim. And I think, you know, some of the inference from the other side in question time was questionable in itself. Under the previous government, the Northern Territory had the worst educational outcomes in the nation. Territory kids, particularly Indigenous children, are falling behind the rest of the country in fundamental skills like reading and writing. And as I pick up on the education, as I pick up on the...
Can I take a seat, please?
Point of order.
Honourable members, this is an important motion. Up until now, everyone has actually been civil. You may not agree with what people are saying, but we've all listened to them in silence. Can we continue that, please? Member for Katherine.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. And I pick
Sorry,
up on
Member for Daly, point of order.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. Look, 110 relevance. This is about, it's an important issue about the stolen generations.
I've already ruled on that previously. No point of order. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. And I do pick up on the interjections from the opposition leader and the member for Daly. This is all about intergenerational trauma, and I'm going to paint a picture to show exactly how we've got to be here right now.
Leader of the Opposition, please.
Mr Deputy Speaker, I have sat here and listened in silence without interjections.
Point of order.
And I understand the member for Nelson is interjecting. He is not doing so from his chair. He's out of his seat.
Look, can we all just calm down a bit? Please let people speak in silence. Thank you. I'm just asked that. Thank you. Leader of the Opposition,
Jared.
Can I ask you to stop interjecting, please? This is an important motion. Please let people speak in silence. Thank you.
I have a standing order, Mr Deputy Chair.
What's the problem?
Standing order 31, offensive and disorderly words by the member for Nelson, telling me to shut up.
He needs to withdraw.
I can't say I heard it, so I can't claim it.
Lucky he did it twice. I recorded it once.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. And
Now, can we please let the member of Katherine speak?
Constant interjections whilst I sat here and listened to the opposition leader, who is now calling me a disgrace. I would ask for you to make a ruling on the constant interjections, Mr Deputy
Silence,
Speaker.
please. Member for Drysdale, point of order.
Standing Order 20. This has been an incredibly respectful debate on a very important issue for a lot of people in the Northern Territory. Could we please go back to the order we had and listen to the member for Katherine in silence?
Thank you, member for Drysdale, and that's what I emphasise. We have been conducting this debate in a very civil tone. As I said, whether you agree with people or not, we cannot continue interjection, and I won't put up with it. Member for Katherine.
Mr Deputy Speaker, I would like to ask, if I may, that the clock go back a couple of minutes, because I actually have a very important addition, and the opposition leader has just wasted a couple of minutes of my time that I do not have to give my contribution.
I didn't know whether the clock was stopping during the time or not.
It didn't stop. Anyway, I will press on. Under the previous government, to which they may not like the recollection or the remembrance, the reminding, the Northern Territory has the worst educational outcomes in the nation. Territory kids, particularly Indigenous students, are falling behind the rest of the country in fundamental skills like reading and writing. 1/3 of all NT students are categorised as needing additional support in literacy and numeracy, and that's compared to just 1 in 10 students nationally, Madam Speaker. NAPLAN results show 58% of NT students, including 85% of whom are Aboriginal, fail to meet basic literacy and numeracy standards, and a staggering 35% of these students are performing at the lowest level. So we talk about closing the gap targets, Madam Speaker, but those targets paint an equally damning picture. Significant numbers of children in the Northern Territory remain developmentally vulnerable. Only 16.4% of Indigenous children in the NT are on track in all 5 key developmental domains by school age, nearly half the national average. The education gap is painfully wide. Only 40.2% of Indigenous students in the NT complete Year 12 or its equivalent, compared to 68.1% nationally. Even more alarmingly, only 19.5% of Indigenous people aged 25 to 34 have completed a Cert 3 or higher. Again, this is less than the national rate. I just want to pick up on that, Madam Speaker, because this is all why it is so important to get children to school and why it is about early intervention and prevention. The member for Port Darwin, Minister Carl, is working hard with the circuit breaker program, and we are working hard in education with school attendance officers, as well as boosting literacy and numeracy. But I have to say the most appalling failure is in the school attendance area, where Labor utterly neglected its responsibility to enforce the law, which mandates that all children over the age of 6 must attend school. Over the past 8 years, attendance has steadily declined across the Territory, leaving us with the lowest school attendance rates in Australia, well below the national average. Since 2016, school attendance across the Territory has dropped from 80.8% to a shocking 74%. In some regions, the decline is even worse.
For Katherine. Member for Daly, you have a point of order.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just wanted clarity on Standing Order 110 in regards to relevance. We are talking about the 17th anniversary of the national apology. The clock, is still going. Just to state, probably.
Just pause the clock for a minute.
I think it was 20 or 30 seconds it went for.
So you're questioning the relevance of what the member for Katherine
Yeah, well,
is
it's
saying.
an MPI on the 17th anniversary of the national apology, and she hasn't made any reference to it at all. Has come in and politicised the issue. I'd just like to ask for your
Look, I'm going to give some latitude
Speaker.
here. This is a very sensitive issue. It is very broad, really, in the fact that it's talking about Aboriginal disadvantage and Aboriginal issues, and And broadly speaking, the problems, I mean, the Leader of Opposition spoke about the difficulty that the stolen generation have experienced. Look, it is... the government has brought on, the opposition has brought on this matter of public importance, and that doesn't mean you get to dictate what other people say, even if it's not to your liking or how you hope this would go. But in the context of this general topic, I'm going to allow the member for Katherine to continue to talk about Aboriginal disadvantage in terms of education, because I think it is relevant. Please continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And it is all about Aboriginal disadvantage in education, and I understand that the stolen generation is a very sensitive topic, but, you know, it is terrible when the opposition leader doesn't want to hear, as a previous education minister, the failings of her government.
Of the opposition,
so since 2016, school attendance across the territory has dropped. What hasn't been shown, Madam Speaker, which is even more alarming, is the state of Indigenous student attendance. Only 51.9% of enrolled Indigenous students attend school. 51.9%, just over half, compared to 84.3% of non-Indigenous students. But even this figure does not tell the whole story. There's an unofficial list, the intensive support role, where students who have been absent for 20 days or more are placed. This list holds 1,710 children. Out of those, 1,616 of whom are Indigenous children. These are kids who have not attended school for a month or more, and in many cases for much longer. They've been on the list for 1, 2 or even more years. And let me be very clear, Madam Speaker, this is a Labor legacy who had 3 education ministers who clearly did not value children's education and hid these figures from Territorians to make school attendance rates look better. Let me be clear, 1,616 Indigenous children are being deprived of their lawful right to an education, their right to a better future, Madam Speaker. And this is exactly why I want to just shed a light here on education and Aboriginal children that are not attending school. If we want their lives to be better and we want them to grow up with better literacy, better numeracy, they need to attend school. They need to be able to be educated, to get a job in the end. Or is that what some, on the opposition leader, is that you don't want these children to be educated? I just find it quite
direct your comments
remarkable.
through the chair, please, Minister.
Sorry, Madam Speaker. If we include these children, the true attendance rate for Indigenous students in the Territory is just 49.5%, not 55.2% as the official figure claims. So less than half of Aboriginal children in the Northern Territory are attending school. This is unacceptable, and as the Education Minister, I will not stand by while these kids are left behind. I've asked the Department of Education and Training for a full briefing to get to the bottom of this, including options to improve transparency and accountability.
Take your seat,
The
Minister.
CLP government...
There's a point of order from the member for Nightcliff. What's your point of order?
My point of order is 1:10. There's only 2 minutes left and I'm yet to hear anything about the stolen generations. I really do feel like this is off topic. It's not about political point scoring. I want to hear about the MPI.
Look, part of the MPI says, and the ongoing impacts caused by the past treatment of members of the stolen generation in the Northern Territory. Giving all members some latitude, talking about education is relevant. But please, member for Katherine, maybe it's time to tie it in to the specific topic that we're talking about.
Madam Speaker, it all ties into the specific topic now that the opposition and members on the other side have wasted at least 5 minutes of my speaking time. It absolutely ties in because we are talking about, this is an MPI on stolen generation. We are talking about Indigenous children, the importance of Indigenous children, whether they were from stolen generation families or not. It is about getting children to school. So we inherited a failing education system when we came to government, but we made our priorities clear. We are increasing school attendance. We are boosting literacy and numeracy by getting back to basics, and we are attracting and retaining exceptional teachers who can make a difference. We know that education is fundamental to building a strong and safe territory, and we are not afraid to do the hard work to turn things around. We've introduced school attendance officers. We've got 13 student attendance officers that began this year, with 11 positions still to be recruited to. These school attendance officers form part of the 47 Northern Territory authorised officers workforce currently employed. We're giving teachers financial certainty by moving them off short-term contracts into permanent positions so they can put down roots here in the Territory and teach these children that are in these remote and very remote schools, working side by side with Aboriginal teachers with the schools that are doing bilingual education. And with that, Madam Speaker, we have seen, I've been out to Gallawinku where they've had 50 years of bilingual education there. But even with that 50 years of bilingual education, Madam Speaker, they have a terrible attendance rate at school. We are doing everything we can to bring these children and make the education setting good for them. We have amazing teachers, we have great schools, we have learning on country, we have bilingual education, and yet we cannot seem to get children to school. And so that is why we, as an election commitment, have brought back school attendance officers to make sure.
Madam Speaker, as a non-Aboriginal person, I am mortified that people in this chamber are using this MPI, which is about acknowledging the harm caused by and the apology given to stolen generation people, to attack other members in this chamber, Aboriginal members in this chamber.
I'm feeling quite heightened and emotional after that. The contributions from the member for Barclay and the member for Katherine, shameful. Any skerrick of humility or decency or respect in this chamber, and it's disgusting.
The other thing to say about today is that today is the anniversary of the apology to the stolen generation, and there was what's called a matter of public interest on that apology. So a matter of public interest is when the chamber talks about something that is of great importance. Anyone can talk about it and share their views. It's difficult to know what to say. I'm mortified perhaps by the behaviour of some members of the chamber in relation to this bill. I'm sorry that what you heard was a lot of politicking, including attacks on the Aboriginal members in the chamber.